he's QB1A. I guess I'm not even quite sure how to put it, but essentially, he's a guy who's going to have some significant time one way or another at the quarterback spot. And he was at, I believe, a camp he was sponsoring, but he spoke with reporters, and it sounds like his goodness, his rehab is going well. Things are progressing well. He mentioned just patience with the process and everything. So obviously that's a really good thing, a big positive. He was very limited in the spring. So was obviously that's a really good positive going into the summer to be able to, obviously you want to strengthen yourself, get a little bigger. I've been hearing that more even with some of the NFL quarterbacks of Zach Wilson. They talked about he's coming in a little bit bigger, built a little better. Same with Mac Jones in, better shape. So kind of following along that same trend that, obviously with JJ getting healthy is obviously a good thing, and hoping that, that kind of translates into the fall and into the season. And that kind of leads me to next question, which is let's assume that JJ is going to be healthy, and he's, we're going to come into fall camp, and what do you think the chances are that Jim Harbaugh at some point in the fall, in fall camp, names JJ the starter? And I actually want to pose that to our viewers as well. But what do you think the chances are that at some point, and let's say it's the last day of camp, and the week before, your first week against Colorado State, what do you think the chances are that JJ is going to be named the starter?
Okay, before I take on the theoretical there with the health being not an issue, most likely the health's going to be, I don't think necessarily an issue, but it's going to provide a bit of a slower start for JJ going into August camp. So I think in reality, I think the percentage is going to be lower than what I'm going to answer for this question. So here we are, first day of August camp. JJ's healthy. He's ready to roll. There are no issues. Okay. I think that Jim Harbaugh is still going to honor what Cade McNamara accomplished last year. I think it's going to be difficult for him to make a move. I think he's going to need a substantial difference in their play and practice to make a move. I think if Cade McNamara is just at least doing what Cade McNamara does, and he's making the right decisions and he's running the offense, I think Harbaugh is going to be okay with that, and I think he's going to stay with McNamara, still with probably at least as heavy a lean in terms of number of plays, packages, everything that he's going to give JJ going into the season. Probably he's going to have to step it up there even more. And then I think that the leash is going to be short. I think the hook's going to be quick. If there's not necessarily needing to be a loss, but a poor game, that maybe he's going to be looking for that opportunity to make the switch and go with the guy that he knows is a better quarterback. So I'm going to say JJ's got a chance of, in a perfect situation in regards to health, 40% chance of being selected the starter before the season starts, but I think it's more like 25% because he may be a bit off limits to start camp.
Yeah, and I think that percentage is probably a bit higher than what I would go, but the thing that makes me rethink it a bit is because I feel like we've seen in the past, year or so, a different type of Jim Harbaugh where, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but essentially it just seemed different. It felt different is even before, the season started. So maybe it is a higher chance that does happen because I think it is pretty clear to see the trend of teams that make the college football playoff and teams that are playing at that level. you have to have a dynamic quarterback. Now he doesn't necessarily have to be, a runner or things like that, which I think JJ's got that benefit. But I for as good of a quarterback as I think Cade McNamara is, and I think he's a really good quarterback. I think you need something a little bit more, because when you look at just the elite defenses and defenses that can do a lot, that can limit a lot of offenses, a skill set like JJ's is one that it's extremely hard to game plan for. Like, you can't run your best coverages because you need to have some eyes on the quarterback. And sometimes you can't run as many of your exotic blitzes that you really want to run, because if you're caught out of position and you try to overload blitz one side and he comes out of the other end, I mean, you might be talking about, a 50, 60-yard gain, or, a touchdown. So I wonder if Jim Harbaugh is thinking about those things, and maybe he's not, but thinking about, the goal and the future for this program, and especially for this year. I'm sure he has goals of winning the Big Ten again, getting to the college football playoff, and winning a college football playoff game and getting to the national championship. And he sees the trend of, in order to get there, you are going to have a dynamic guy at quarterback. And if you don't, you're going to have to be absolutely elite everywhere, because we saw with Georgia that, I mean, they were a historic defense, and we saw the entire defense get drafted in the first round just about. I mean, they were absolutely elite everywhere, except the quarterback spot. And Stetson Bennett played extremely well throughout their season. But when you see that, you have to wonder if you would weigh that out to say, well, I know we're elite at some spots, but I think we can all agree Michigan is not elite everywhere. So when that's the case, do you just make that change? Do you rip the Band-Aid off and say, hey, let's you know let's get it. Let's bring in JJ. We know what he's gonna do, and we just know the upside, because I think that if you want to come into this season as number one, the hunted, you are now being the hunted, and you want to get to the place that you were last year of, in the conference championship, beating Ohio State, getting to the playoff. I'm not sure you can rinse and repeat, so to speak, to get there.